Hello everyone! For those who haven't watched my previous video, my name is Angelica and welcome back to my social work profile. This video is about ethics versus values, standard of practice, critical thinking skills, and how code of ethics guide social workers in their practice. Every profession has ethics, and many students might find it boring and complicated because it's difficult to find the universal truth. But I think ethics, values, and standard of practice is the hallmark of social work. Social workers are expected to act on highest ethical standard. I would like to make it as interesting as possible, so before I bore you, let me dive into the topic. Let me start by identifying values versus ethics. What's the difference? While we all have personal values and beliefs, every profession has personal ethics. Values and ethics are different, thus they influence each other. Ethics are the moral principle that governs a person or a group of behavior, whereas values are what is important to us and it's a significant part of who we are. It is formed through our experience, influenced by our families, cultures, and belief. We apply it unconsciously. We use it in our everyday decisions without even knowing it. As I have mentioned earlier, ethics can be real challenging because it is difficult to find the universal truth. Social work code of ethics serves as a guidance, but it does not give us a straightforward answer. It is not as simple as black and white, and more often than not, we get caught in the gray area, also called ethical dilemma. For example, we all know that killing is bad, but what if ending someone's life means to save another person or to save yourself? Now, all of a sudden, it becomes more complicated and it's not as straightforward anymore. So, what if we find ourselves in the middle or the gray space? And the question that we face is not answerable by yes or no. I guess the best answer is it depends. I guess this is when standard of practice and code of ethics come into play, and critical thinking skills can be very useful. So what does standard of practice means for social work? Standard of practice means that the public is rest assured that a social worker has training, the skills, and the diligence to provide them with social services. Social workers are urged to refer standard of practice that have been set by the provincial or territorial. In other words, it builds the integrity and competence of a social work profession. In my previous video, I reflected on my personal values, experiences, and ideals. The Tree of Life exercise is a useful tool to reflect and understand my personal values. It also helped me to know my strengths and limitations. As aspiring social workers, it is our responsibility to understand our own values, but also to acknowledge how the dominant societal values are impacting our work. Social workers have an ethical responsibility to clients, agencies, and the public to make a sound judgment guided by professional ethics and practice standards. But sometimes, our personal values may conflict with our clients and agencies we work with. Or one of the social core values antagonize another. So how do we approach this? Reflecting on all aspects of circumstances can frame our practice. That includes reflecting in our own values and biases. For instance, I have unique values about gender orientation and sex. Working with a person with disability like Andrew in Picture This case study, who is dealing with these issues may be different than mine. Whose values am I going to follow? Professional ethics directs my moral action when I face these conflicts. Such guidelines should be generally acceptable to the diverse population. Another important thing to consider is sometimes we may share the same values, but our context and belief on how it looks like may vary. In my previous video, I also talked about equality, systems support people for disabilities, mental illness, healthcare system, and immigrants. I wanted to share to you the picture and example I found online in relation to social core value, which is pursuit of social justice. Social workers promote social fairness and equitable distribution of resources, and act to reduce barriers and expand choices for all persons, with special regards for those who are marginalized, disadvantaged, vulnerable, and have exceptional needs. Let's look at this image. Picture number 1 shows everyone is receiving the same amount of bucks or support to watch the game. This is equality in action. Now, let's compare picture 1 to picture 2. Picture 2 shows that supports that is given depends on the people's needs to make sure that everyone can have equal view on the game. Do you think this is fair? That these 3 people are given different supports, even though that the tall man paid the same amount as the 2 other person who gets the extra support. Now let's take a look at the final picture. Picture number 3 shows that all people can see the game without any support because the cause of inequality is in defense. The systematic barrier has been removed and changed. I thought that picture 2 provides a great result until I saw picture 3. By changing the fence, it opens up better solution. In our society, the fence can be the system. Modifying the system unfolds alternatives. Social work can help make that difference. To wrap this up, here are the key points I learned and I want to share. I learned that self-awareness is crucial. Because our personal values are unconscious, therefore, we must look at the mirror and be conscious about it. I know that it impacts our decisions and choices because our values plays into our ethics. I learned that social core values are aligned to my personal values, but I also realized that I may share those values, but the context and how it looks like to me and to other people may differ. Because we live in a diversified society. Differentiating values from ethics and how they affect their role and responsibilities within the scope of practice gave me a clear understanding of what social work is. Social work frameworks, strategies, and history conduct evidence-based practice. Recognizing that everyone is biased, but we can aid it by self-awareness and commitment to have an open mind about diversity can help me become a better professional. So if I want to become a social worker, I must learn to set aside my personal values. I must accept that social work code of ethics overrides my personal values when I'm working as a professional. In social work, individual competency is developed through education, training, continuous professional development, supervision, and self-reflective approach to practice the Bloster learning from experience. It is intriguing because it's never stagnant, and we keep on learning. I find social work is never boring because engaging in ethical practice is a continuous ride that welcomes uncertainty. Learning to be comfortable in gray area, knowing that sometimes the best answer is, it depends. I hope you find value in this video. Until next time, bye for now.